Folks, welcome back to the EMBC network, the iHealthRadio, the podcasters channel. I mean, today we're going to be all over the place. The Glamour channel, because someone that I have with me is glamorous. And, I mean, someone who has over 200 episodes of TV, thousands of weekly radio shows, a best-selling book, and the latest addition to one of the longest shows on TV, ABC's General Hospital. And I have with me uh, Andy Page, who you might know as Pearl on the show. Andy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm thrilled to be with you. I really appreciate this time.
Oh, no, no, no. The honor, the privilege. I mean, everything is mine because I mean having you on this show, and I know as you and I discussed that you have a limited number of podcasts that you're going on, and so we're honored to have you, literally, and you do have a lot to offer to our audiences because of the stuff that you've done. I mean, between being, I didn't mention something else. You're also an inventor, and you have an invention there. I mean, there's quite a bit. You've been on QVC. That's one of your, longest, I guess, journeys in the TV and in the work that you do. And I think you're mimicking some of that in the show. So before we get into the details, who is Andy Page, other beyond what I just described here?
Oh, that's very interesting. No one hardly ever asked me that question. So who am I? I'm a God girl. I am, a very tall girl from a small town in Alabama who just got really lucky. I am a bonus mom. I am a wife. I'm a carbon farmer. And I'm also a beauty and style expert. And to that end, I have been so fortunate, as you mentioned, I've done, years and years of television. I have been on radio for over 2 decades. And I have a best-selling book, as you mentioned. The Girly Go Garter is my patented invention. Currently, I am a guest host on QVC, and I also play the role of Pearl on General Hospital. So I'm a little bit of everything, and I'm not done. I mean, this is my very first acting job at the age of 54, and who knows what's next. My philosophy has always been that if God gives me the idea, He will also give me the path to make it happen. So I want to live to be 100, and I'm very excited about the next 46 years.
Hold on. I gotta absorb that. That's powerful stuff. I mean, for our audiences, what you just heard is true determination and ambition. I mean, really, because success is something you've known already. I mean, it's something that you've achieved. In obviously success is defined different ways. Everybody has their own way of doing that, but really, I mean, in a lot of measures, you have been there. I mean, from being on TV, doing the work that you've done. Being an inventor is not easy. I mean, I do have an invention, so I know the process is not easy. And even just to be creative, not to build stuff, and that's your brand, and you have a couple products out there that are selling. That's that we can talk about just that entrepreneurial piece of it. The fact that you're as you said, 54, and you just getting your first acting role, and it's not a too shabby role. I mean, it's a very nice role, and in a very how do you well I guess viewed show. I mean, it's I think it's one of the longest, shows on ABCs. So it's a big deal, and so this is like to you. I love that. This is just the beginning. I want more, and you said you've been on radio, which is true. I mean, that's another one. Radio alone is a world in its own, and so you've been there, and it is, not so. So my question really now is like, how did you get into all this? Because it's not like you woke up one day like this is what I want to do. How did it all happen? Because there is a journey to every success story, and something triggered you. I mean, you said your mom, you do all the regular stuff, but you have all this extra stuff that you've kind of mapped up in your life to date. So how does that work? How did you do it? I mean, what was the motivation to get even on TV? Was that something that you wanted to do, or was that something that you did by trade? Tell the audiences.
Well, I'm happy to take you on that journey, but I want to ask you. You ask a very big question. How do you define success? Like, what do you think success is?
Ooh, I love that. You see, that's an expert right now. Well, so to me, success is if it's not. There's no one definition of success. Success is what you seek in your life, and get it done, achieve it. That's all there is. It could be a step, literally, for someone who may be not walking, and maybe through a trauma or whatever. waking up in the morning could be success for someone who may be sick or maybe through some hardship, coma, whatever. And I'm going extreme, but success can be little things. It's just a little small achievements or large achievements. But everybody looks at when someone has made it, into the light, and then into the bigger, screen, and around the
Yeah.
world, and people know you by name, by visual, you know. I mean, that's kind of like what we know. But really, there are people that are successful in everyday life, being successful in a relationship, being successful as a parent, being successful as a son or a daughter, being successful, as just a neighbor and someone in your daily lives. There's so many ways. So for me, the definition of success is really obtaining and attaining things that you seek in life and really get there. That's all there is. And now it could
Yes.
be a business as well, can be, everything else, being an entrepreneur, that's a big one. I mean, it's not easy. People think, oh, I'm going to go in business. Try it. It's not easy.
No, it's not easy, but you bring up a really good point. To me, success is, meeting a goal. And the best way to give yourself confidence is to set more goals for yourself. Because what happens is every time you reach that goal, you realize I can do this. It bolsters, it fortifies you. So I have always been a goal setter and a list maker, and it really does continue to just help me believe that I can, if I set my mind to it, I can do it. And so it's not about the big accomplishments, it's the little accomplishments that add up. We just had the New York Marathon. I decided in my late 30s that I wanted to run a marathon. And that is a wonderful goal for anybody to set for themselves. So, success, I think everyone can have success in their life. It's just a matter of setting the goals. And it's true, I have set some pretty big goals for myself, which it came because of the smaller goals, right? So when I was able to achieve the smaller things, I then had more confidence to stretch a little more and to try a little more. So it's really, setting those goals, acknowledging yourself, and you begin to have a lot of faith in what you're doing and faith in your ability to absolutely make it happen, make some rain, right? So I think all of your listeners are probably successful in some way. It's just, do they look at it that, do they really understand and look at it that way? And so if you take every day and recognize all the successes, then you will ultimately want more and more, which is what I do. So it is true. I like I said, I've set lots of goals for myself, but I started out in a very small town in Alabama. I'm very lucky that God made me tall because I was 5'11" by the time I was 10 years old, which was a little awkward. But I got really kind of pushed into sports. And so sports is where I kind of started to achieve my first goals. And I started to build my first level of confidence. I realized pretty quickly that there were lots of opportunities for a tall, skinny girl. So, by the time I was 17, I dropped out of high school. I am a high school dropout. And I moved to New York with signing my first modeling contract, which I'm very, very grateful for. That had never been anything that my family had ever, told me, or anyone had ever. No one had even told me I was attractive. I mean, being 5'11" in the fifth grade, I was very awkward. So when someone told me that, there was a possibility of me attaining something that seemed like just a magical dream, I went after it. So I dropped out of high school, I got my GED, and I immediately got into college at the age of 17. So that's how it all started.
I mean, I have to take a breather here and break that down because there's so much stuff that you just mentioned here. And I love how you simplified the definition of success. And I think you and we aligned on that one as everybody is successful. And it's really what their goals are, and some are small goals. And by the way, small goals are good enough,
Great.
for someone
Yes.
to get them, because you can't take the whole world at once, but you can take one
A
little step,
bite.
a bite at a time.
Yes.
So it's the same thing, right? So that works. And a lot of people sometimes, oh, I can't do this, or they hear a lot of negativity around them and so on and so forth. And therefore it kind of inhibits their abilities to go forward, and they think that they're just failures. Which, by the way, I do not believe in the word failure. Personally, failure is part of success. It is success.
That's
It's
right.
a component of success.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as overnight success. I mean, I have not heard of that one yet. If someone, I would love
No.
to have him on the show. How did you do it? Maybe you gambled, and even that, it may not be overnight success. You had to go through some challenges in life, and you had to take some necessary steps to get there. And you talked about quite a few things that are so powerful for audiences, because there's someone out there, plenty of people out there in the world that may think that their look, as you said, you had, it's you thank God for having you be in this tall. But there are people that are just as tall. There are people who are short. Everybody's got a different look and a good, but people sometimes undermine what that may be for them. You don't know what that looks like for you. And I love what you said, and for some of our audiences that may think like my life is done, I'm over, especially the younger folks. You said you dropped out of high school. It didn't stop you. You see, that's the thing. Like sometimes people like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Nothing is set in stone. Life begins every day. You have a new page. Start again. You can do stuff. You went, you got a GED. So what? And then guess what? You got to college. Then you wanted you to be a model. You did. And so that's the thing. And I love what you said, setting goals. I think one of the, as a matter of fact, there's just a show that's going to start airing. We will talk about like the purposes, like what is your purpose in business or in person. And sometimes if you don't have that, a purpose in life and a goal, and you're just going to go winging things, and things are not going to mash up well with you, and so therefore you're going to be lost. But really, that's a big piece of life that we need all to have. So audiences, if you're watching and listening, you got a success story. I mean, a true success story in the standard term, if you want to call it. But if you hear the story, you see that there were a few things that happened in our life, and those are things that everybody can experience. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And again, it gave you the appetite, and you have the ambition of that appetite, where therefore you just want more and more. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, if I may ask, was it? I mean, obviously, someone will be like, "Well, it wasn't that easy." As we said, it's not overnight.
No.
But how hard was it to really get to where you are today? Because I'm sure there were a lot of bumps in the road. Just because people sometimes they dread that. Like, I want it easy. But they're not prepared to face the music and and all those bumps on the road. Their hurdles are going to happen, and I'm almost positive you had some. So if you don't mind, just giving our audience a little bit of that positivity about, like, listen, whatever it is, things can be conquered. So
Of
you
course.
tell us.
So it took me a long time to figure out my purpose. I know that you were talking about, purpose in life. But I mentioned, when you ask me, who I am, I mentioned first that I'm a God girl. And so I believe that I walk in faith, and I also have just an insatiable curiosity.
Mm.
So I believe in following my curiosity. And I did really discern that my purpose on the planet is to just make things better. And so I know that seems very simple, but I approach every day and every situation with the belief that if I look at it, I can possibly make things better. Now, there have been lots of bumps in my road. I don't know if you read this, and I want your audience to be a little aware that I'm about to give you some really strong information. 15 years ago, I was in a horrible accident, and I cut off my right foot. So I was 5 days away from headed to start filming the next season of a show that I was doing called 10 Years Younger, and on that show, I helped women. Ultimately, I was a part of a glam squad, and we helped people look 10 years younger. It was on, I believe it was TLC for years. And I was at the beach with my then boyfriend, and we sat at the beach and we watched these people basically jump off this. It was a bit of a cliff, but it's really this huge rock in the water. And I wanted to go do that. And he said, "Oh, that's crazy. It's so dangerous." And I'm like, "Well, obviously not. People are standing in line to do it. And I am not someone who, holds up a wall. I want to go and be a part of life. I'm not going to sit here and watch everybody else have fun." And sure enough, I climbed up onto this huge rock in the middle of the ocean. I jumped, and I jumped wrong. And within seconds, I saved my life, but I cut off my right foot. So seven surgeries and years later, you think, okay, that was a real pivot in my life, because I had to change everything. And that's actually what led me to create the Girly Go Garter, because I thought, okay, if I can't be in front of TV, if I possibly can't walk, what can I do from a seated position? And I had the idea for the Girly Go Garter, and which is a hands-free purse that you wear on your leg. And so I was using it, or kind of a makeshift one that I had developed as a mic pack holder, because they continued to put mic packs, basically hang it on my bra, and I was, constantly getting water blisters. It was very uncomfortable. So I needed something for my leg. And again, I had made a crude one, but I felt that there was the kernel of something there. And when I cut my foot off and I found myself in the hospital, I just got really quiet, and I recognized that this was what I was supposed to do next, that I was supposed to birth this into the world. And if I never walked again, I could do this from a seated position and still, have this goal and find success and do something meaningful. And I'm happy to tell you that the Girly Go Garter is the number one product for people who are insulin dependent. Girls who are insulin dependent use the Girly Go Garter to hold their insulin pump so that they don't have to alter their clothes and dresses. We have undercover police officers who use it for weapons carriage. Of course, we've got huge studio services who do use it as a mic pack holder. But that process was an amazing pivot in my life, and getting to the point where I could walk again. And now people don't even know that I cut my foot off. People have no idea. So if you were to meet me today, you would literally never dream that I spent 10 years in recovery and trying to basically, get my life back together and figure out, how I was going to walk and function on a really, really normal level. So is that a hiccup for you? Is that a hurdle?
I have to say, if someone claims, I mean, you can have materialistic stuff, but when it has to do with your health and your body, I mean, that's the highest level of potential hurdles that can, affect life, right? And I mean, just listening to you talking about it, and being who you are today and where you are today, and that didn't stop you. I mean, I'm sure it was difficult and you had to deal with it, but there's some level of acceptance there. There's some level, as you said, faith is a big, part you know, of who we are as humans. And the more you have of that, the more you can face life in a better light, right? In a positive way, in a better mindset. And sometimes people kind of lose that, right? With hope and all this thing. And that's the other thing. Like, there is hope. No matter what the situation is, there's going to be, as we say, right? There's a light at the end of the tunnel. And everybody gets into that dark tunnel every now and then. We get in, somehow we find ourselves in this tunnel. And that could be anything from a loss of family, health issues, or even just a basic, financial situation that can happen, that can be very
Of
detrimental to
course.
to the people. And again, the economy sometimes go up and down, and it affects people. We had a pandemic that destroyed the whole world in a split second, right? So there's all these things that can happen, but it's how we deal with them. It's just the resilience level and the ambition. I mean, the thing, it's life. You really are full of life, and you are clinging to it, and you want more of it, and you want to just be who you are, and that didn't stop you. It kind of maybe give you a deviation a little bit, a stop. Maybe just you took a little breather, but that's about it. And that's actually a message for our audiences, that life is going to be, not, as we say, it's not fair. Well, it's not so much that it's not fair. It's just part of life. Those are experiences that we're sometimes there's no way. And we make decisions. Now, you could have easily not done that, but it didn't happen though. It happened exactly how it was supposed to be happening, and it was meant to happen. It did happen. And so you turn that, to something advantageous. I mean, you created something, you invented a whole product that is hot, in the environment. And I love what you said, like even the idea of those those clips, whatever they put the what is it, the transmitters. That's what
Yes.
I mean, those
Mhm.
can be annoying, right? So you solve a lot of problems,
Yeah,
And so this is the thing, like it people when something hits us. There's two ways to look at it. It's like, oh my God, it's the end of the world, or maybe this is an opportunity. You take it, you seize the opportunity, you convert it to something that is, I guess, valuable. And every situation has a positive outcome into it. You just have to look at
definitely.
that.
Yeah, most definitely. And you can't fall off the floor. So when you when you hit the floor really hard, obviously, you can. There's only one way, and that's up. And so when things are really, really bad, you have to recognize that the universe is telling you need to make some changes. And so that's what you do.
Well, listen, you certainly did, and thank you for sharing that with us,
Yeah,
because that is a big piece of literally, people sometimes they just need to hear stories
of
that can,
course.
because these are stories of hope and really enlightenment, and people get, oh yeah, I'm maybe someone right now is sitting in a dark place, and you hear the stories like, wow, and here I am complaining about some minor stuff,
No.
and
Well,
so that can change people's life.
it can. And the thing is I cannot stand the word no. To me, the word no means no right now. But when I hear the word no, I'm like, okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. I accept it and I hear it, but in my mind, I'm like, if I really want to achieve something, that just means that, there must be a way around it. I'm so fortunate that I had an amazing modeling agent when I moved to New York at 17, who really taught me to look at the word no in a very different way. So, most models, to be a successful model, you really are only going to book about 10% of what you go after. And so, back in the 80s, when you went on a modeling audition, it was actually called a go-see, right? And now I'm sure they call it something else. But so she actually gave me a chart that she made for all the new models. And she said, here's your chart. Understand that if you can book 10% of what you go after, then we are going to have a very successful ride. So every time you hear the word no, you go home and you check it off, and you know that that just gets you one step closer. It is not a no, it is a step, because you're going to have to take 9 of those steps to get every job. So I have never looked at the word no as, as a closed door. I've always looked at the word no as, okay, that just gets me closer to the yes. So, do I like to hear it? No, I actually can't stand the word, but I don't see it as a roadblock or a stop sign. I just see it as me getting closer to what is supposed to happen.
Well, that's another big one. And no is part of life, right? We're going to hear a lot of it, but
Yeah.
you're right. It's not yet.
Yeah.
It's just it's really what it is. And again, some people can get almost like stopped, in their speed. They just like that's it. They can't face it. Now, so I've been in sales, in the corporate world, and I have to say we have a saying like salesmanship begins when the customer says no. No is like some part of a life, right? So you take that and you work with it,
I like that.
because people are going to tell you no. I think the default is no. I mean, even with our children, we tell them do something, no. When someone you tell them something like no, and you tell something this way like why, and it's almost like a no to that whatever you claim, right? It's like that's just how we design as humans. We cannot push the no first before we get a yes, and most people they just do that by default, and then you
Yes.
have to kind of come up, and give them the value, give them the
Yeah.
solution, give them the arguments, and then basically like so I have a partner, and we joke about this when we have like an idea, one of us throws it to the other, and basically we kind of bounce it. We sell it off each other. So if I
Yeah.
have to sell it to him, and he's gonna give me all the no's that possible, and if I can convince him, then we can go ahead and proceed with whatever that process and business thing that we do. So it's like that's the thing. Like it's all objections really. That's all they are, and you can remove those objections as you if you really want it bad. And I love what you said. If it could be done and someone is doing it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And that's really. By the way, this is not Andy. This is not Hurricane. Everybody out there,
Of
things
course.
are being done, and we can learn things on a daily basis, on a regular basis. You might not know something today. In a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, you can go seek some sort of formation, and now you're an expert in it. You know, you talked about you being in the TV and doing acting right now. That's a whole new thing. Now, it's not so new to you because you've been on under the light and the TV cameras and all the stuff. You've done some of that stuff already. Just a different. I mean, acting is a little bit more role playing and things like that. But you had half or 90% of all that taken off, from your shoulders. Cause maybe not. Again, you'll tell us more about that. But like I'm saying, like so, someone like says, I have never been in front of a camera, and it's very like I'm shy. You know, maybe people think that they're shy. We are not shy as humans because you put us in the right environment and we can just go. Sometimes people are shy because they're with strangers, people they're not comfortable, and then you can and that's a skill you develop too. You can literally go to school and
Absolutely.
become and become public speaker from like
Yes.
zero feeling about being in front of anybody, right? People have a problem talking on radio. People maybe like I've had people that may don't want to be in a camera, like I don't want to be on TV on the screen. So there's different people that have different fears and I guess blockades, but they're all kind of hoaxes. I mean, literally we can remove those things. So I love what you said about no, it's just not yet. Really, it's not
Yeah.
now, but not I'm gonna do this. So thank you. Now you mentioned something very interesting about your career in the modeling, and I know we got to deal on the General Hospital and the role and all the stuff. But so just something for that, because modeling is a very brutal world and
Yes.
difficult, and you got to get the right agency and stuff like that. I mean, you made it, and yeah, you said it. Thank God for you.
Yeah.
You met the right agency and the right agents. Not everybody has that. But any particular advice you want to give to people who want to have that particular career path right now?
Well, the
Just
modeling world has changed so much because of social media. Now models don't even need an agency. They models, all you need is a following. So the days of agencies are really they're waning. So we all have the ability to have our own platform. So you want to start a TV show? You can. You want to be a model? You can. You want to do have a radio show? You can. There are no more gatekeepers. Everybody within the sound of my voice has the ability, if you really want to do it, you can do it yourself. You do not have to wait to be chosen, to be plucked out of obscurity, or to be, picked in a lineup. You can do it yourself.
in that, I mean, if there was a value to that one, I mean, it would be in the trillion mark. I mean, it's so powerful because
Yeah.
really, I love it how you framed it. Today with the technology, everybody has a way to do it. And we've seen that through YouTube, TikTok,
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook. People have come up, from basements and from garages and, rooms, bedrooms, and literally closet room, to success and really showing the world what their abilities and the skills. And it's given people the opportunity to really highlight who they are and their creativity, and it is happening. I mean, we are in the show right now, which also can be, qualified as a podcast. That's another world on its own. And these are experts from all over the world that are actually doing these things. And it's amazing the value that you can hear. I mean, you have so
Yeah.
many. I mean, from Joe Rogan, I mean, being the top, performer in podcast world to Hurricane, who's a newbie, and many others, right? But here's the thing: we have information out there. There's so much. Just an example, as you said, you can have your own TV show, you can have your own program, you can have whatever you want. You just got to
It's
absorb and
true.
and adapt to the technology and stuff and do things. And by the way, that's what I did literally personally. I started my own radio, I started my own
Yes.
channels, and I'm building from there with the idea that, because I thought about it, like if I have to go out there, who the hell's gonna, pick me, right? But I can do something about it and just do it, and make it work slowly but surely and learn and pick up. And
That's
it's
right.
working slowly. And I'm not in a rush. I have my just like you have the dream, and
Yeah.
I have a goal, and it's gonna go there. So thank you for bringing that up. Now you went to QVC. That made a big part of your career path. Now, how did you get into General Hospital? Because that you're the
Yes,
spokesperson for them right now.
I
So
am.
let's
So
talk about that.
yeah. So, well, this is a great lesson. I mentioned I'm a bonus mom, and I love that my stepchildren get to see this because life is really about the seeds that you plant. And I think that you kind of touched on this earlier, but the truth is we don't eat the fruit the same day that we plant the seed. So, and many people who listen to me on radio or in other ways hear me say that all the time. So, what you want to do is you want to show up every day as your best self, make things a little better, which again is I think that that's my purpose, and hopefully leave a lasting memory of someone who was there and improved a situation and didn't make it worse. And me getting this role on General Hospital is exactly how that happened. So I mentioned, and you and I both mentioned that I've done literally decades of television, but it was reality based television. And reality based television is very different than scripted TV. Trust me. Um, but I'm fortunate that I've worked with hundreds of producers who have gone on from the different shows that I worked on, and they now are working in different areas of media and broadcast and television and creativity. And two of the producers that I used to work with on a show 22 years ago are now on General Hospital, and they remembered me as being someone who was on time, and I was trustworthy, and they could literally depend on me to take on this role with a great amount of gusto. And so they reached out to me after not talking to me for years. They had no idea that I had cut my foot off, zero idea. And they found me on LinkedIn. And actually, it's interesting because one of them had seen that I was a guest host on QVC. And the role that I now have on General Hospital is that of a home shopping host. And my co host is Morgan Fairchild. Yeah, Morgan Fair. Yeah. So what I do actually on General Hospital is I play the role of Pearl, and what General Hospital is doing is actually engaged in a bit of an experiment because we are all watching television in new and different ways. Most of us are streaming, and the truth is they call it a soap opera for a reason, and that's because soap companies used to pay for it. Right. So if we're doing our best to avoid ads, how do you keep a legacy show like General Hospital on the air? I mean, there are 2 to 3 million people watching this show a day. It's been on the air for 61 years. It's the longest running show in television history. So when this was pitched to me, they said, we've had the storyline of Deception Beauty for the past 3 decades, and the fans have wanted us to bring Deception Beauty to life for years now. And so what they have done is they have slowly engaged in developing in real life all of the fictional products that they developed within the storyline over the 61 years that the show has been on the air. And when those products are ready for consumers to see them and the fans to enjoy them, they are brought to Home and Heart, where Morgan Fairchild and I actually pitch them fictitiously on Home and Heart. And then if you go to shophomeandheart.com, you can see the cosmetics, the red light therapy wand, handbags, jewelry, all of the things that are character driven and that are a part of your favorite character's existence. And so when this was pitched to me, the concept was like, what would you do if you could have bought Fonzie's jacket? Or if I knew Rachel and Phoebe and Monica's hair care products, or I could have figured out how to get the Fresh Prince of Bel Air sneakers, or whatever it is. So I do think if this experiment works, that it's going to change the way we see television and really consume television, because TV shows, I believe, will get to a point where they launch, but they will be launched in tandem with a website so that you can shop everything that you see within a storyline on the adjoining website. So everything that you see will be consumable.
Genius. I
Right.
mean, it is. Like we hear about these things where people have their own kind of lines, of things like, people now on social media, they make up their own products and push them. But, it's an uncommon to hear it, or not very common to have heard it on a show like that on TV, or
Yeah.
or a TV network, producing products that are actually sellable and really consumable, friendly, where people can actually buy them and just enjoy them for their
Yeah, and
daily
it's within
use.
the storyline. So the great thing about, this particular storyline is the fans have watched the development of all this, because fictitiously, like I think about the red light therapy wand, the fans watched the patent process, the packaging process. All of that was a part of the storyline. And the same is true for all the cosmetics and the serums and everything. The fans have in some way been taken in the process. And so now this is a completely different immersive fan experience. They can enjoy kind of what they have seen on television in a whole new way. So I'm very excited to be a part of it, and I do think it's going to revolutionize advertising.
So, I mean, it's already doing that because, as you
Yeah,
said, there's one thing, you can place ads, or you can generate the revenue to support, the show and everything
yeah,
through something. And I love, I mean, we talk about marketing here, that is whoever came up with the idea is just genius. I mean, because the concept behind, as you said, like how the patent works, right? Because you've done it, I've done it. It takes a couple of years. You got to do all the
yeah,
work. You got to get all the researchers and the attorneys, the fees, and all. So there's a lot, and depends on what product you do. It can be even worse. And so the patent process is big, as that's just one thing you mentioned. And you're right. Like, so people saw this whole thing in the actual series, right? So
yeah,
they just kind of see the process, and now there's this basically home network that is selling products, and those are products that are really accessible. It's not even like I'm just seeing them on the show. You can actually have access to them in your own play. Now, and by the way, so it builds credibility. It
mm,
builds trust, because you
it's
already
true.
like, and it's real, because you not yeah, people think, well, it's a movie, these products are not just in the movie; they're actually available in real life,
Right.
so you can actually consume them. And so now you know, I'm pretty sure the process that's depicted is the correct process. So therefore, it's not like it's just a hoax. Like well, that's not how the patent really works. You guide them through. So they incorporated this whole concept within the script, and that's. I mean, I'm telling you, it is genius. So
Yeah.
again, kudos, chapeau to whoever has been on the team. I'm sure maybe there's more than one person in this whole thing, but it's amazing because it's changing, as you said, the dynamics. I guarantee you'll have some competition in the near future with some other
Oh,
rival, or
yeah.
somebody's gonna like, oh well, they're doing it, let's do it here,
Oh, yeah.
and it's
No,
gonna
it's already
become the
happening.
standard. Oh,
Yeah.
it is okay. There
Oh,
it
yeah.
is. So,
It's right. I mean, what's happening now is the new shows that are coming out for 2025, everything is changing. So what we will see, almost everything will be consumable, which is actually exciting to me. I can remember I was completely obsessed with a painting that Carrie Bradshaw in the show Sex and the City had in her apartment. And I did a deep dive trying to figure out where I could get this painting or a copy of it. And it never came to me. But to think now, if there was a website in tandem so that I could literally go and look up anything on the set, anything that she wore, any cosmetics that she, had on, all of that would be available for consumption. I just think it's going to really change the way that we watch and enjoy TV. We're going to be much more, we're going to become noticers. Do you know what I mean?
I'm with you, and it's again, it has the social media effect. I think because really it's got that component. Like people are, if you look at TikTok, just because that's like the place, right? Now there's TikTok Shop, right? It's a big thing,
Yeah.
right? And people like they get the stuff, they promote it, they wear it, and they experience it with people, and people buy, right? They just get excited about it. And you're doing it in a big, show concept. And as you said, like in the Sex and City, concept where you had that frame that you wanted, that piece of work. I mean, now you can have those, but somehow the shows will have accessories, things that actually are being worn or used available. You want a duplicate, not a duplicate, you want the same product, you have it. You probably pay the price for it too,
Well,
and so
maybe. Yeah.
well, again, you know what I mean. So it depends. I mean, obviously, if it's the piece that, let's say, the actor or the actress wore, that could be priceless, right? But it could be also just a second, another, not a duplicate. I mean, maybe just another product that is produced at the same time. So, anyways, I mean, it's a very great concept, and you get to actually do the same work you've done in the QVC technically, and doing it with these. They're not really fictive, product because they actually exist.
They're
It's
real now.
they're
Yeah,
real.
they're
That's
real
my
now.
point. So
Yeah,
you're really selling products, in actual show, which is like, again, genius. So,
it
I'm
is.
it just like, I'm trying to get my mind around it, but it's pretty cool. I mean, I love concepts where, it's different, innovative. I mean, talking about innovation,
Well,
and
what's
and
your
this.
favorite show to watch? Let's think about the products that might be in the show that you're watching right now.
Well, I mean, I tell you this. I mean, I've been a Star Wars fan, right? So that
Yeah,
I have few items from Star Wars here, but I mean, go to Disney store and you buy some of these things, you can order them, but it's not the same way. I mean, there's always apparel things that come out of movies. That's
sure.
always been the case, but not in the way you have it now, because
Yeah,
really these are not the toys, and just
no.
things. These are real products to use
Yes.
as a consumer, whether for your beauty, as you said, the beauty products, the red light therapy. I mean, that's actually something that we've covered in the network a couple of
Oh,
times, because
yeah.
red light therapy works. I've
Yes.
had the multiple shows about how it is, the benefits, so on and so forth, and there's multitudes of products out there,
Yeah.
from top brands to just imitation stuff, but it's out there. So these are things that are aligned with the current times that we live in, and so it's just going to change I mean, by the way, you see it in a lot of movies. We actually talked about it. you
Sure.
know uh, we had a show that we talked about alcohol and stuff, but we talked about how, in, for example, James Bond, with it's a big thing. I mean,
Martini.
alcohol martini, right? So it's always prominent. We talked about the Super Bowl, where it's out there. But again, those are movies, and so there's sponsorship. There's people, brands put their stuff in. Now this, it's not even the brands are doing this. This is the production that's doing that's creating, generate their own revenue. It's a little different from the old school, when you get a company to just, here's a car, show it in the movie, and we're gonna pay you for it. It's
Right.
different.
I definitely think it's different when you're talking about like a weekly. So, it's one thing to experience a movie for a couple of hours and for it to have a lasting impression on you. It's another thing to invest weekly in a new production, and then you're invested in the characters and how they're going to develop and what they wear. And so, people who've been watching General Hospital have been watching for decades, decades. I mean, I just did a fan event in Memphis where many of the fans would come with three generations. There was a granddaughter, a mom, and a grandmother, and they've all been watching the show. So most of the fans of General Hospital, again, 2 to 3 million viewers a day, are highly invested in these people. So I do think that when it comes to like scripted television on a weekly basis, we do have a different level of investment in what they do and if we like them, if we don't like them. So I do think that it is different when it comes to a television show. And the other thing that's really interesting is, we television in many ways, especially daytime television, has become so polarizing because there's so much news and so much opinion television that, believe it or not, the pendulum is actually swinging back, and they're creating two new daytime dramas, one coming out next year and the next coming out the year after that. So there is a big shift back to scripted television because people are just sick of hearing the news and everyone's opinion. So I do think it is very interesting.
It is, and thank you for throwing that on the show here because it is. There's too much of that. There's
Yeah.
really too much. I mean, a lot of people now are tending away from the news and the
Yeah.
regular TV. It
I
is
haven't
really.
watched the news for 5 years.
I mean, I don't know if you watched the election, but
No.
yeah, I don't watch news. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I did watch actually parts of the election,
Yeah,
like
but
just
that's
the last
okay.
day. But really, like I have this saying that we all know, like no news is good news, and I
Yeah.
use it in both ways. Like really, there's no news that is good out there, and so it's all the same, right? It's drama, it's bad stuff, people are killing people, and the world is not happy, the economy sucks, and it's just depressing. So I don't want to hear that. I mean, I want, as you said, you want to watch something that you immerse yourself, you get
Yeah.
to feel it, to enjoy it, and just be there. I mean, again, you mentioned, I think you mentioned earlier about streaming, right? Streaming is the place to go now. I mean, no one, I mean, if you have cable, you're probably not even, you're doing it just maybe for the weather channel
Yeah.
stuff. Even that you can get on streaming,
It's true.
platforms now. So it's become a very different world. So, but I have to say, the team that's behind General Hospital and the concept that they created, it's definitely cutting edge, and it's the next level, and they are just going to expand on this. And I love the idea that you are acting, but you actually are experiencing these products, and you can
Yes.
literally, when you talk about those products, you really are talking about the products. You're not
Yeah.
just scripted to just say the lines because that's what you're supposed to. You really get to actually enjoy it and be able to talk about it, so it's easier for you to even eloquently express whatever those products are. Because I get it. I mean, in the QVC world, I mean, that's what you did, right? You sit,
Yeah.
you know
I
the
still
products.
do.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. Well, yeah. I think you're right after this. You
Yes.
have you,
Yes.
you have a few lineup, so I know we're gonna be tight on time. But really, that's what you do, and it's amazing. But so now my question to you is like, is it very similar, Lily, in the show? I mean, it's just
No.
okay.
No,
So,
it is not. As a matter of fact, I realized that very quickly. The soap operas are amazing. It is baptism by fire because they produce 250 hours of television a year. The very first day I was on set, I was in scene 47 and 49 of they do 50 to 60 scenes a day in two filming blocks from 5 a.m. to noon, and then from 1 o'clock until 8 at night. It is unbelievable the amount of people, energy, and effort it takes to go through that much dialogue. You get one practice take that's filmed and one actual take. And if you have to do the dreaded third take, it is not good. You are warned about it. And it is very different saying the words that someone else wants you to say. I learned that very clearly, even if it's naturally something that similar to something that you would say, it is still different when you are literally saying something that someone else scripted. For example, last week I was on set and I kept forgetting the word new, and they were like, "No, new has to be in there. We're talking about Emmy-winning writers. There is a reason for every single word." So it is definitely different. There's no doubt about that.
I've always wondered about that. Like, why, can the actors deviate from the scripts? And
No.
I've heard that before. That really it's verbatim. I mean, so the actors make it look so
Yeah.
natural. But I mean, I had one close encounter with the script, literally, which was a tryout. I went to one of those auditions for an actual role, and they give me a literally a two line to state, and I was basically going to this store, and I was working in the store, and someone comes in, and I have to tell them about different types of wines that they had there. So literally, you had less than 30 seconds. They show you the actual line. You got to say it and kind of roll it and role play it rather, show like you like that you're reading. And I did, and it took well. And unfortunately, I wasn't picked up for this particular role because I didn't have the credentials for it. Meaning that I didn't have. They wanted the actual. There's supposed to be a special resume format that you have with certain
Oh,
stuff. I'm like, okay, well, I have a regular resume. it's a,
now you know. So I bet if you
well,
were to try again, you would understand the resume process.
well, no, I did my research. Now I do have one, but it's funny because that's the experience. So you're right; they're very stickler about these things, and uh, I get it. I mean, there's a message in these things, right? And they want an exact word because there's the whole emotional stuff that goes in. And when you say it, it's one thing. When they say it, is another. I mean, so for example, the way I do my shows, they're not scripted. I don't have questions set.
Yeah.
I never do. So actually, I'm like the opposite of that. But because I have a problem with this the concept of being scripted and almost like tight on that stuff. I mean, it's not a problem. It just I have not, I guess, worked on it. Because that's the other thing. Like everybody has to work on it. And you said it yourself. It's different. You have to memorize your lines. And by the way, someone can say, like, what, you forgot the word new. Folks, trust me, when you actually in the role and the word skips because your mind is actually working and you're not really just spinning those scripts just as is verbatim. Because remember, it's not just stating them, you also have to act them, like the emotions,
Yes.
the look. So it's not just like, I'm just lining up, a proverb here and saying it. You have to, like, when you say it, you have to show the emotion that goes with it. I mean, I admire the actors when like they talk. I mean, they convey the message so eloquently. And as you said, they're not their words, somebody else's words. So it's a lot of work. I mean, they make it
It
look good.
is.
So well, congratulations on the role, by
Oh,
the way. I
thank
mean that,
you.
and again, it's been what, few months now, a couple of months.
Yep, a couple of months. I've got more scenes coming out in December, and then January we'll start all over again.
Well, listen, it's a great journey that you've been on, and again, now this is only TV for you. Now, is there an ambition for the bigger screen?
Oh, I would love to do a movie, but I do know that there's a lot of work that goes into a movie. But sure, I mean, as you can tell, I don't say no to anything. I mean, I have no idea. I haven't thought about it before, but I never thought I'd be on a soap opera next to Morgan Fairchild either. So I am totally open to that for without a doubt. Actually, what has my curiosity right now is I am developing a podcast, my own podcast, because I am completely obsessed with dating. I think modern dating, even though I'm happily married, I think modern dating is just going through some real changes. And so I'm doing a deep dive. My podcast is called The Dating Lab with the Hillbilly Yenta, because that's what my husband calls me. Um, do you know what a Yenta is?
I, I don't. It's animal.
No.
No.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay.
So a yenta is actually it's a Yiddish word that comes from the movie Fiddler on the Roof, meaning a matchmaker. So a
Ah,
hillbilly yenta
no clue.
basically just means a southern or redneck matchmaker. So that's obsessed. I'm obsessed with that right now. So that's next, and maybe a movie. But who knows? One of the things that we talked about a minute ago that I actually am going to come back to for just a second is, I told you I have not been watching the news for a really long time, and I cannot tell you how that has changed my life. Let me just tell you why. Because I am not consuming news in the way that most people do. I ask people what's going on. I open conversations with, I decided a few years ago I didn't want to watch the news. Is there anything happening in your life that I should know about? And it is fascinating how I have made friends from that. I learned so much about people's perspective and their view of the world. It has, in many ways, revolutionized my life. So I think that staying curious and asking a lot of questions will probably lead me to, my next big adventure.
Well, thank you for literally doing what you do, and actually, I love that concept. Thank you for going back to that because you're right. When you don't know what's going on, it's a good icebreaker. You can talk to anyone. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, what's new? What's happening? I don't. I do it too. Like I just like what's going on. I get my news from people, not from the news
Yes.
network. Literally, like, oh, is that something that's going? Yeah, this is
Yeah.
or like sometimes through social media, although like it gets a little twisted, but you know what I mean. It's not so much through, and even social media. I'm on it, but I'm not really watching too much. I have certain things that I follow that align with what I do, but that's about it. But it's amazing. But I love the podcast concept, and I have to say something. You said I'm happily married. You know, dating. When you're married, you're supposed to be dating.
That's
You are
true.
dating. You're dating your mate, right? So
It's
there's.
very
I,
valid.
we've talked about this in relationships where shows because a lot of people forget that we got married, so no more dating. Actually, you have to have date night, and you have to do more than just date night. And you got to keep that thing going, otherwise it's gonna get really bored, right? So yeah, and you're right. The world has changed. I mean, we have these apps now. People have to be matched by algorithms. Like you get a survey, like it's like robotic stuff. Soon AI will actually match people, right? And I think they have those already. So it's a
They're
little.
not matching people. That's the problem. The top
Well, I'm saying,
10
what I mean.
dating sites are actually owned by one hedge company, and their goal
Oh,
is to get your $30 a month. That's not to find you love.
well, that's a big one, right? Dating and love are two different separate things.
It's true.
People date for a lot of reasons.
That's a very good point. It's a very good point.
But what I'm saying, like sometimes, but the purpose people want to date so they can find that match, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, people are not really for the same reasons. I mean, you may meet someone that's really seeking that. Sometimes you may not. And this is not the show about relationship, but I love the concept of your podcast because it's real. I mean, we
Yeah.
have a couple of podcasts on the show on the network that actually talk about relationship. We have the resilient relationship show, and we have also Liam Needon's talk shows. And so we have all these things and it's very interesting world out there. So congratulations on that too.
Well,
And I mean, it's another achievement. Now I have one idea that I don't know. I can see your story as a movie. I mean, think about it. I mean, you do have something there. I mean, maybe that's something that can be producers out there. Hey, just saying.
maybe.
I,
My story's not done. So maybe when I'm dead.
you have a lot of stuff, but again, just something that came to my mind because
That's
I
very
actually
sweet.
I've said there's something I've always when I hear somebody's story, like I can see it in a book, I can see it in
Oh,
in a movie concept, right? I mean, because
yeah.
and it's big, it's not light stuff. I mean, you've gone through quite a few years of expertise and glamour and all this stuff. And there's a lot of stuff for people to actually, and it can be dramatized too. I mean, people can throw in a little bit of twist here and there. You got to write, the right script writer. They can make it work, So, but hey, now the book you wrote too.
Yep.
So 3 times bestseller. Can you tell us a little bit about that
Yeah.
one?
So I'm fortunate. It is published in 14 countries in 3 languages, and the book is called Style on a Shoestring. And I'm really fortunate that my grandmother instilled in me that the way that you present yourself is ultimately going to dictate the way that people treat you. And even though we didn't come from means, my grandmother was a master sewer, and she could whip up a dress in an afternoon. So she was very intent on having us, be polished and pulled together. And, moving to New York at 17, I was in a very glamorous world without a lot of money. And so I had to figure out how to, give myself or present myself with implied value that what I had on looked rich and luxe and, stylish, but it was, purchased at a thrift store or, perhaps my grandmother made it or, all of those things. So my book, Style on a Shoestring, is about building a wardrobe in a very economical way that fortifies you so that you can actually achieve your dreams, because most of us only utilize about 10 to 20% of what's hanging in our closet. And when we open our closet, many times, I see you laughing, many times what's hanging there are much of it's kind of our failures, right? It's money that we've wasted. It's the people we used to be. It's the things we can't fit into anymore, and the things that are uncomfortable and we don't like them. We used to like them, but that's not who we are anymore. So we've got to get that out of your closet so that when you start your day and you open that closet in your bedroom, what you're confronted with is a wardrobe workforce that is going to give you more confidence, that's going to make you feel empowered, help you linger longer in conversations, look people in the eye, and really use your wardrobe as a tool to helping you achieve your dreams. And that's what my book does.
Brilliant concept, I have to say, because I mean, you just made me laugh there because, I mean, everybody watching and listening, they probably that they hate them close by. I mean, because think about it, you look at your closet, it's stacked up with things that you just bought because they were on sale or they look good, whatever, and they're there. You don't wear them. Like, what's going on? I mean, and by the way, I'm not talking about expensive stuff, and some people actually do the expensive stuff too, and it's just a collection. I mean, and there is a world that we live in now. It's very talking about keeping up with the Joneses. I mean, now it's getting
No, it's
even
fast.
tighter. It's
Yeah.
bad, because I mean, everybody is about influence, right? And
Yeah.
if you don't wear a certain, bag or shoe or dress code,
Yeah.
whatever, it's becoming, or you don't have a logo attached to anything you wear. It's kind of like, oh my God. Now, I think in your world of modeling, I get it. In the glamour, I get it. But I mean, the average person is not in that space. Yet they have to be like now almost forced to mimic, that look and feel. And sometimes it's not even affordable. So it creates a lot of stuff. So your concept of really having the right wardrobe that makes sense and that is not really breaking the bank, that's a great thing. And so again, I don't know how you come up with these ideas, but they're awesome ideas, So that's very innovative and creative. I mean, again, you're doing stuff, you're changing people's lives through your work and in different angles. I mean, really, I mean, you just bringing things to fruition in this world that we need that. So we need a lot more of your. Can we duplicate you somehow?
Oh, stop. You're so sweet. No, you can't duplicate me. I've got, like I said, 46 more years. So no duplications. I'm not done.
Well, listen, but you definitely have, and again, through the current work that you do, and you're still going to touch a lot of folks, in different angles. And you know what? By the way, even the QVC world, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they do have great stuff that they. You and I we briefly spoke about this. I love that. I mean, QVC. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, I was talking to my son just a couple of days ago because I told him there's the quality, there's the customer service, they stand behind their product, they make it easy for you. You don't have to go crazy. You know, it's literally that's their brand. That's how the signature is. And you said it. It's funny because you said that they were the original review, world, which now
Yeah.
it's everywhere. Everybody, you have to look at the reviews before you get into a product or a place, right? So they did that. So hey, listen, I mean, that's a great world that you're in, and uh,
It's a lot of
it's
fun. It's a
it's
lot
a
of fun. I
so
love
so
being able to sell things I love.
well, yeah, but you enjoy the work though. You
Yes.
see, I mean, I can see that you're just eager to do this. It's not like someone like, oh, it's just another day. I'm just gonna go rolling with the punches and make it work. You just love what you're doing, and that's another thing, folks. If you're watching and listening, and you hear this all the time. You have to have passion for what you do to actually do it right and enjoy it, and it's never going to be boring. But if you were doing something that is not, it's just going to be a burden, and you might not really be the happiest person. So I can see the smile, I can see the energy, and it's happening because you do love what you do. And even now, you're doing the podcast for the General Hospital, but you're also doing your own stuff, and you diversifying your work. And that's the other thing. Like someone can say, like, well, how do you do all? I mean, it's a lot of work. How do you manage it all? I mean, just time management is a big deal. Can you give us
Yeah.
some quickly? And I know we're coming out to the end of the hour here, but just come a little bit of brief to people, like because sometimes people are like, oh, I can't do all this stuff. You're doing a
Yeah.
lot.
I have to disagree. I think that there's plenty of time. It's how you choose to spend it. There's plenty of time. You have to be determined to stay healthy. And, I had a goals list and I continue to have a goals list, but it's just a matter of how do you want to spend your time? When I am, on my deathbed at 101, I don't want to think about, anything I didn't do. So I don't want to think that I missed out on a thing. So I just think that there is time You just need to figure out how you want to spend it. So every day I have a list of what I want to get accomplished that day. It's really simple. I do it on my phone before I go to bed, all the things that I need to do, all the things that I want to do, and I just check them off. That's it.
People have a bucket list. You have a daily bucket list. I mean,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
but I have to say, you probably have a book as a bucket list with everything that you want to do, and that's a great thing. By the way, that's really what we need to be, folks. You know, life is beautiful if you look at
Yeah.
it that way, and there's plenty to do, plenty places to be, plenty of people to meet, a lot of things to achieve, and we can all do it. And it's not always money. It's because a lot of people
No,
find the excuse of money or time. Those
no,
are the two
no.
common ones. You can do things with no money. You can do things. I mean, walking around is not going to cost you anything. So some people say like, "Oh, I don't have time to work out because I can't go to the gym. I can't afford the gym." You can walk. You can walk in your watching TV and walk, right? So there's a lot of things. Time, as you said, people scroll on their phones for
Right.
like 2 hours. You can do things that are more,
Absolutely.
productive in those 2 hours. So thank you for sharing that idea of like, there's plenty and you can do it and we can plan for
Yeah.
it day to day. So we're coming out to the end of the show here. Anything that you want to just leave our audiences with?
Well, I appreciate you asking. If anyone is interested in anything that I do, of course, you can go to andypaige.com, and that's ANDYPAIGE.com. And my invention, the Girly Go Garter, is up and going. Of course, it's been on the market for over 12 years, thegirlygogarter.com. And I encourage listeners, especially GH fans, General Hospital fans, to go to shophomeandheart.com so that you can really see all the incredible things that are being developed within the show for the fans.
Those are available for purchase, correct? I mean,
Yeah,
if they
yeah.
went in,
Right
so that
now,
the
you can go
shop is
there right
live and
now. Yep. Yep.
wow. All right. Well, there you go, folks. I mean, if you love shopping and you, and by the way, these are not just, I mean, obviously if you're a fan, that would be even better. But if
Oh, it's
not, you
for
can still use,
anyone.
yeah,
Yeah,
you could use them daily. So, hey,
of course.
go for it. All right. Well, listen, Andy, it's an honor, privilege, and just having you here with us and sharing I mean, extensive, expertise here in this world, and really just the work you do. So, thank you so much for being with
You're
us.
so welcome. I've enjoyed it. I really think that you are a blessing. You are a gem. And I'm so proud of all of that you've accomplished in the past few years. You had an idea and you're really turning it into something special. So I think that's great. Congratulations.
So I'll take that. I'll take the the compliment. I appreciate it. Well, there you have it, folks. We're coming to the end of the show with our guest today, Andy. And yeah, do follow, do watch the series, and definitely go do the shopping and check out the actual links in the description of the show so you can connect with her direct. I'll have all her stuff so you can be connected directly with her. That being said, I'm Hurricane H. We'll be talking soon with a new show on the topic. Bye now.